I feel like shit.
Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days.
It's just one of those
happy days. The weekend comes, let's not go home.
It's just one of those days where you don't want to wake up. Everything is everybody sucks. You don't really know why, but you want to justify ripping someone's head off. No human contact, and if you interact, your life is on contract. Your best bet is
Knock it off, you scumbucket.
it's just one of those days. It's just one of those.
Happy days.
It's just one of those.
Happy days.
It's just one of those
Happy
days.
The weekend comes, let's not go home. Ready to make stand.
It's just one of those days, feeling like a freight train. First one you complain, leaves with the blood stain. Damn right, I'm a maniac. You better you cause I'm fucking up your program. And you feel stuck up, you just locked up. Next in line to get fucked up. Your best bet is to stay away, motherfucker. It's just,
I'm losing my cool.
it's all about
Happy days.
it's just one of those,
Happy days.
it's just one of those
Happy
days.
The weekend comes, let's not go home. Ready to make stand.
Feel like shit. My suggestion is keep the distance. Right now I'm dangerous. Right now I'm dangerous.
Something's happening to the bonds.
My day keeps going this way and this way.
I'm gonna pop you one so you'll stop playing games.
Give me something free. Give me something free. I hope you know about a chainsaw. A chainsaw. A motherfucking chainsaw.
What?
So come and get it.
What we got here is a case of mistaken identity, you know? See, now this here,
Not Robert.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chief Moody, and welcome to episode 59 of the Mood of the Nation podcast. Thank you all so much for turning up this fine evening, and I hope you're all doing well. And I hope you all had a great weekend, of course, today and yesterday. So, see, there's 19 people watching the show already, which is really good stuff. And I hope today everyone will be enjoying tonight's episode because I've been thinking about this for a while, and I think I did mention this one episode ago, which might have been a few months back. I did talk about the idea of covering this particular book, which I will be discussing relatively shortly. I'm going to talk about this for the episode tonight. So what I'll do is I'll just address the audience just real quick, and then we shall get started. So, Budgie Burger, hello, how you doing? Thank you very much for watching the stream. I've also written down your song request in my notebook, just so it reminds me of that. So I'll see if I can play that towards the end of tonight's episode. And even also before the show ends tonight, I know Mark will be live tonight on his Odyssey channel. He'll be live with American Krogan, I believe the content creator's name is. They'll be discussing about the video game industry and how feminism has completely ruined the entire industry at this point. So if you're interested in that, I'll post a link for that stream towards the end. And if you want to hop on over, then you can do so if you want to. We also have Rory Herbert. How you doing, Rory? And also, I appreciate that as well, that you sent me that on Telegram. Because for those, if you're interested in this book, Hammer of the Patriot, there is a downloadable link that is completely free of charge, and I'll definitely cover that in a short second as well. So bear with me just now with that, and I'll continue on with the comments real quick. We have English Rose. Hello, English Rose. How you doing? Thank you very much for watching the show. Hello, everyone. Hope you've all had a lovely weekend. Same to yourself, English Rose. Budgie Burgers I mentioned just now. Amanda Lee. Hello. Thank you very much for watching the show. Turbo Duckhead. Good evening to you too. Thank you very much for watching the show. Someone feels like shit from the opening of the song. Daniel Archer, I've heard good things about this book. Looking forward to this. Well, let's see if everyone enjoys tonight's episode with that. Streaky Bacon, evening to you too. Thank you very much for watching the show. We also have Ugly Truth. Good evening to you too. Thank you for watching. Indigenous Advocate. Good evening, fellow patriots and nationalists. Good evening to you too. Thank you very much for watching the show. I've not actually heard of this book title before, so it should be interesting. Well, let's hope it's interesting for everyone, which it'll be something completely different what I normally do on the show. The only, of course, everyone knows that with Mood of the Nation, I normally cover articles that came out throughout the week. Maybe from time to time, I'll have a guest on talk about their experiences of becoming a nationalist and so on and so forth. So this will be entirely different for the show itself. So hopefully everyone will enjoy it, and then we'll see from there. Let me see here. Who else? Who else? Appalachian Nationalist. Thank you very much for watching the show as per usual. Who else is here? We also have English Weather. Thanks very much for watching the show. Good evening, every wonderful one of you. Same to yourself, English Weather. Thank you very much. Peter Walker, hello, how you doing? Thank you very much for watching the show. Let me see. Right, that's fine. Mr. Kipling, evening to you too. I think it's been a while since I last seen you in the chat, but I appreciate you being here. So thanks very much for watching the show. Let me see here. Of course, we got Exile Viking. Hello, how you doing? Thank you very much for watching the show. Hey, good evening, Chief Moody and fellow Boodlings. Same to yourself, Exile Viking. We also have Roscoe in the chat. Good evening to you too, and thank you very much for watching the show. Appreciate you being here. Let's see, who else? Who else? I think that's me up to. Oh, of course, we got Joe Marsh. Hello, Joe. Thank you very much for watching the show. We also have Spiffy Acorn. How you doing? Thank you very much for watching the show. We have Horse. I've never heard of this book. Well, we'll definitely cover that in a few moments' time. So, but thanks very much for watching the show and appreciate you being here. Good idea trying a different approach, though. Yeah, we'll definitely see with that. We shall see. Venus Rising. Cooking Sunday roast, but listening in. Well, no worries. Thank you very much for listening into the show. Appreciate you being here. I think that's me up to date with the chat. Chief, busy time of day for me. Glad to be here. Thanks very much again, Mr. Kipling. Right, excellent. I'm up to date with the chat. So, almost 30 people watching the show for YouTube. That's really good. Hopefully, more people will be joining later on. Well, we shall see. We shall see. Right then, let's get right into the show itself. So, as I mentioned earlier on at the start of today's episode, I thought I might try to do something a little bit different. Oh, so sorry, real quick. We have Evola's sunglasses. And actually, before I continue on, there's something I also want to mention as well, real quick, as I mentioned on the previous episodes. Let me just see if I can get the link, and I'll post it in the chat just now. So let me see here, and then we'll continue on after that. Copy and then paste. So for those, oh, and also Gammon Sandwich, how you doing, Gammon? Thanks very much for being here. Right then, so I'll just mention this real quick. If you would like to support me financially, you can easily do so by going on to my Ko-fi page or my PayPal account. Please don't feel obligated as if you have to donate to me because you watch my content on a regular basis. The option is there. So if you would like to support me financially, you could easily do so by going onto my Ko-fi page or PayPal if you'd like. If you don't want to do that and you just want to continue on watching my content, again, that's completely fine to do so. My whole point with that is the option is there, of course. So the link is in the chat, and of course, more links in the description down below. So if you want to check them out, it's entirely up to yourself with that. Real quick, we also have Felix Boru. Hello, Felix. Thanks very much for watching the show. Even all 14, and another comment of yours, hail the chief, always a pleasure. Well, thanks very much for that. Appreciate you being here. Right then, let's get right into the episode itself. I hope this will be a long episode. I don't know how long this will actually be because I'm trying to, of course, do the show for 2 hours long. So I'm not going to be covering any particular articles or anything like that. This is strictly just going to be for the book itself. Actually, even just before we continue on, there was actually one thing I wanted to finish off talking about. I mentioned in the previous episode where I talked about an article where it was about the brownification of Scotland by Dr. It was some Indian doctor. I can't remember the guy's name, but people who've watched the previous episode will know what I'm talking about. And he talks about Scotland having more and more minorities coming into the country, especially here in Scotland, and how he's basically saying us indigenous white people of these islands should basically just bend over and just accept it for what it is, whether it be because of colonialism or because of the quote unquote sins of the past, if you were, or even just outright saying, well, you pretty much deserve it because you're white, so therefore you should have all these foreigners coming into it. To which there was one thing, even looking back at it, I thought maybe I might have said this on the previous episode, but if I haven't, I'll just mention it now as a response to that professor of migration or whatever his job description was. Basically, all I'll say is Britain, whether it be Scotland or England, Wales or Ireland, etc., is a white country. Always has been, always will be. So the fact that people like this professor or doctor, whatever he goes by, is trying to make out as if, well, migration is a strong and great thing for Britain, and that's why people need to just accept it. I would just tell him to go fuck himself with that. Scotland and the rest of Britain are white countries historically and always will be. No ifs, ands, or buts, and it always fucking will be. And that's all I have to say on the matter with that. Phoenix Rising, real quick. Chief Moody, do you celebrate Burns Night? I do. When the time comes, I think it's meant to be happening this coming week. I don't know. I don't think it's tomorrow or if it's going to be Tuesday. I don't know if Cyborg will mind me saying this, but I think I'm pretty sure he mentioned this on the previous episode of PA Talk, but I think he's going to be doing something for this week's PA Talk on Tuesday. I think he's going to be doing a Burns Night episode, so I don't know what he's going to be doing with that, but that's going to be really fun to watch in that case. I'm not entirely too sure if he would want me on. I wouldn't mind coming on if he would like me to, but I'm not entirely too sure. Because I'll be free on Tuesday night anyway, so if he wants me on with a few others, then that'd be awesome. But I'll just need to wait and see with that, and of course see from there. Anyway, so sorry to answer your question, Venus. Yes, I do celebrate Burns Night. However I can. I think at this moment in time, I would maybe just have pour myself a glass of Iron Brew because it's Scottish or whatever. So there we go. Right. Okay. So back on track. What we're going to be talking about tonight. Let me see. And of course, good evening to you too, Jojo Gizmo. Thanks very much for watching the show. Oh, anyone up for a joke while we wait? Here we go. Right then. Okay. So tonight's episode consists of talking about a certain book, and we definitely will get right into that just now. I just also want to see if I can sort out stuff in the chat just now. Gammon, I think you're my you have a wrench, and I think you're the damn it, what are they called again? I can't remember exactly the name, but basically there's a couple of messages I'm seeing in the chat that are quite very bizarre messaging or something like that. I don't know if it'd be okay for you to maybe sort that, or anyone else in the chat can do that. As a moderator, that's the name. Yeah, that the name escapes me for some reason. But if you wouldn't mind checking it out and maybe seeing that from there. But anyway, let's get right into it. Sorry, we're going to talk about tonight's book, which the book is called Hammer of the Patriot, a handbook on rhetorical counterterrorism. And this book was written by Charles Chappell. And from doing a little bit of research into it as well, I believe this was first published in 2014, so just about a shy of 8 years ago, I believe. But I'll start off with a little bit of a history of this book, and then of course we'll talk more about it from there after that. So how I came into contact with this book. My first contact with this book was last year at the start of October. More specifically, it was PA Scotland. As a matter of fact, PA Scotland, of course, it was during the conference with that. Hold on 1 second here. Sorry, just real quick. That should be all right. Okay, so my first contact with this book was real quick with a super chat. Meme Team, another great stream, Chief. Everyone should read this book. You'll never lose an argument again. And of course, he donated £5 of super chat with that as well. Again, thanks very much, Meme Team. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate the super chat. And of course, the message as well with that, of course. And also, Kingdom of Vinland, thanks very much for watching the show. And how you doing? I appreciate you being here. Right, anyway, so Hammer of the Patriot. My first contact with this book was actually last year in the start of October when myself and the rest of PA Scotland had our own conference during that time. Hold on one second. I think Thin Lips got Moody nabbed for wrong thing. I hope that that's meant to be a joke. I don't know if that's to do with my connection or anything like that at all. But anyway, that was my first exposure to this book. Now, I'm not entirely too sure when it was first introduced specifically, if it was after a couple of speeches that were done or anything like that at all. But basically, Kenny and Sai, I think it was Kenny more specifically, advised us, hey, we have these books. They were also talking about the PA Scotland book club, I believe it was. And of course, they brought up this book, Hammer of the Patriot. And of course, they advised us, if anyone is interested in this book, then have yourself a copy and all of that. So I thought, you know what? I've not actually read any of the books within the nationalist scene or anything like that at all. So I thought maybe this could be a good starting point, in my opinion. So I purchased the book, and from what I was told from some of the guys, in fact, even Mean Peem, I don't know if he's still watching just now, was one of the few guys from PA Scotland, was like, oh, if you want to get better at debating, this will be the best book for it. In fact, he even said that in the super chat as well. So I thought, brilliant. Now, I got back and I have read a bit of this book. I think I might have gone about maybe halfway through it, and I stopped because I was busy with other things, whether it be family, stuff with PA or PA Scotland more specifically, or even stuff with like my own stuff when it comes to content creating, especially with Mood of the Nation. I just never really got around to actually finishing the book in its entirety. But from what I've read of it, I think I got up to maybe, what chapter was it? I'm actually flicking through the book right now. I think I got up to about maybe page 36, which is about use of violence, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah. Ragnar Iron Spear, thank you very much for the comment. Smash that like button, folks. Definitely do so. Everyone, if you haven't done so already, that would be much appreciated. Let me see. Amin Peem even says in the chat, yeah, I'm watching, mate. We've had a brilliant time reading this in PA Scotland's book club. Well, there you go. And thanks very much, Amin Peem. And of course, what Ragnar said. Right, cool. Let's see. So, what I'm going to do for the entirety of this book, in fact, even also real quick, Rory Herbert, I'm pretty sure he's still watching the show as well. Before the episode went on air, he sent me a link on Telegram about this particular book. So I try to see if I can find a particular website people can maybe have a look into and see if they want to purchase the book themselves. But I couldn't really find anything of the sort. However, thankfully, Rory Herbert in the chat has sent me a link on Telegram, basically showcasing, if you would like to read this book, especially if it's for free of charge, there is a downloadable link, which I'll see if I can get that up here just now, and then I'll post that in the chat. Copy link, and it's this one here. So if you're in, for those who are interested in the book, you can definitely download it for free, and you can read it in your own time if you want to. So there's the link there, pdfcoffee.com, Charles Chappell, Hammer of the Patriot, as a PDF file. So there you go. So completely free of charge. You don't need to pay for a single penny. You don't even need to send in donations or anything like that in order to read that. It's completely 100% free of charge. So Rory, thank you again for sending me the link to that. That was actually very handy of you to do that, especially for people in the chat just now, or even after the show ends and gets uploaded onto my channel, maybe interested in reading the book and then download it for themselves and then read it from there. Because as I mentioned earlier on, reading through this book, as I said, got maybe halfway through it, I do agree with the idea that this can be very, very handy when it comes to debates, because if I have a look through the contents of this book, and not that, of course, what I'm doing, I'm not like trying to spoil anything when it comes to the book, because it's not like it's a narrative structure or anything like that at all. It's literally a case of getting better at debating. If I even have a look through the table of contents, it's got how many chapters again? I believe it has. Let's see. So it's got 5 chapters, a conclusion, and 3 appendix. So Appendix A, rewarding the opponent. Appendix B, developing new arguments, the creation process, assessing your material, and finally Appendix C, troubleshooting. And it's got a list of subject matters to go through throughout this book, and also if it's partly to do with any form of debating. So, of course, with the book, it delves into stuff like, say, politics, for instance. So it's got topics like democracy, freedom, capitalism, and libertarianism. It's got chapters like chapter 3. It's got society, such as subject matters as of moral relativism, feminism / natural gender roles, religion and society, homosexuality, other perversions, and of course human rights. Chapter 4 consists of race, which delves with racial differences, diversity, Jews, which, if you guys want to, I'll see if I can cover that later on throughout the episode, but we'll definitely get to that later on. White genocide, and it also covers white pride. Finally, Chapter 5, it's got general attacks, historical questions, Christianity and versus paganism, conspiracy theories, and so on and so forth. So it does have a list of contents within this very book, which I was pretty surprised of, even looking through it. Now, looking back at it, it's got a... So how is structured in a way? So imagine yourself, you're actually having a debate with a leftist, or even in some circumstances, a civic nationalist, if you will, because and of course, I'm not trying to make it like a bitch fest when it comes to civic nationalism or anything like that at all. And also, real quick, a beer hall pooch, how you doing? Thanks very much for watching the show. And there was also a comment from Appalachian nationalists. They write, Dissident Minds book US used to have physical copies. Not sure if they're still in stock or not. All right, I can have a look at that at some point. Thank you for pointing that out. Of course. Right. So yeah, back to what I was saying. So again, I don't want to make it like a civic nationalist bitch fest or anything like that. But if there's ever a time in your life where if you get into maybe a bit of a discussion, heated debate, or anything like that at all, this book will definitely be like a think of it as like a handy dandy guide of how to get better at debating. So, see, for example, you and this leftist or Sitnat were discussing, trying to look through, say, for example, democracy, right? That's like a main subject matter. Democracy, so that would be page 22. I'll get to that real quick. So how it's structured with the book, first of all, it say with democracy as an example, right? It talks about what democracy is and how it's meant to be quite I don't want to say like problematic, because I know that's quite a big SJW buzzword or anything like that at all, but how is it like what democracy is really about and the problems that democracy has regarding to the overall society. It has some arguments that some leftists or Sitnats would bring up, and of course there is rebuttals that would be made by people on our side. So what I'll do is I'll talk about, say, this part here, democracy. Again, I'm not going to make out as if like I'm trying to spoil or anything like that at all. But anyway, real quick, we have Jay in the chat from PA Young Scots. Hey mate, looking forward to the stream. Thanks very much, Jay, for watching the stream. Really appreciate you being here, brother. Let me see here. And real quick from Gavin Sandwich. Chief Woody, FYI, I'm at work. Been called away. See you ASAP. No worries, Gavin. You take care for now. Right. So I'll just touch upon this part here when it comes to democracy. And lastly, from Beer Hall Pooch, don't forget to follow me on Odyssey, or I'll follow you home. Okay, fair enough. Beer Hall Pooch. Right. So democracy, as it reads within this book, Hammer of the Patriots. The quality of any government depends entirely on the human quality of its decision makers and their ability to implement their policies. Thus, we can judge any political system based on how effective it is at getting the best people to the top and preventing the worst people from being in positions of power and influence. By these criteria, we can confidently say that democracy is the worst political system there ever was, and could ever be. By being based on popularity rather than quality or merit, it will always favor the clever liars and schemers, the cynical actors, and the sociopathic social climbers. By having short term limits, it ensures that no politician ever has to deal with the long term consequences of their policies. Inversely, the honest men, the honorable men, will have less success at getting elected because they will say unpleasant truths and refrain from making impossible promises. The ones attracted to public office in a democracy are those who see it as a way to make dishonest profits through corruption. Now, just pointing that out real quick, I got my thumb on the last part of that sentence, but that's definitely true with that. I mean, we've seen time and time again throughout societies, especially here in the West, when it comes to the topic of democracy, um, we've seen corruption through and through when it comes to businesses, when it comes to politics. In fact, you could even say there's tons of corruption going on in the current Scottish government with the SNP. I remember last year, I know people like Count Dankula talked about this as well. Even I think I've talked about it on Mood of the Nation before, where there was a big scandal that happened with Alex Salmond, and of course the whole sex scandal that was going on at the time. Funny enough, all the people that accused Alex Salmond of being inappropriate or sexually abusing them, or I think it's something along those lines, the women in question were all supporters or were backed or were part of the SNP themselves, which that's something that really gets the noggin jogging, doesn't it? And of course, even when the time comes of there was a lot of pushback on that, especially with Alex Salmond towards Nicola Sturgeon and the SNP. The SNP or Nicola Sturgeon were asked to submit like a file or like a case file or anything like that, and there was stuff that were completely blacked out, if I'm not mistaken. Which again, that's stuff that really makes you think, doesn't it? That really sets like alarm bells are ringing. Sorry, excuse me. After that, Evo's sunglasses real quick. Democracy is completely captured by the international merchant class. Exactly. Men like Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein lived and died for his people. They definitely sure did. They did. Indigenous advocate. Democracy means the death of the white race. I mean, another point people can make. Sorry, real quick. PA were out leafleting at several freedom rallies yesterday. They have. In fact, I know some guys at PA Scotland were out. In fact, I think even in Yorkshire. I know Sam Melia shared something that was going on in Yorkshire. Looked like a anti-COVID lockdown or basically like a COVID protest that was going on. And there was a big turnout, especially the one in Glasgow with PA Scotland, which I couldn't be able to make it due to work and also financial reasons when it comes to that, which I wish I was there. But it really is nice to see that a lot more people are turning out to those events. It really is a bit of a white pilling moment with that, I would definitely say. Anyway, I'll just continue on from there, and then we shall see with that. So, where was I? Oh yeah, here. Let's see. Through corruption, with little or no risk of being held accountable, those who are not corrupt gain little benefit from their office, and thus are less likely to bother with the whole process. Additionally, in any election with more than a few thousand electors, the people must rely on the media to form their opinion of the candidates, because they cannot know them personally. Thus, the winner of the election to an overwhelming extent will depend on the portrayal they receive from the media. But the media executives are not themselves elected or accountable to the people for their decisions. This makes democracy beyond in small towns where everyone knows each other effectively plutocracy by the media bosses. And that's basically democracy described within this book, which again is absolutely true. I would definitely say with that. Real quick from English Rose. Well done to those who attended PA is the way. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I want to congratulate those who did manage to attend to these rallies. Like, it's really good of these people to do that. So um, I was at the Newcastle demo, great turnout. Well, there we go. Again, it's really nice to see a really big turnouts going on with these rallies. Really good turnout. I definitely would agree with English Rose in this case that these people definitely should be congratulated. As a matter of fact, troops, for everyone watching just now, can we have a big 14 in the chat for those who did attend the rallies? Because they pretty much do deserve that, I must say. Real quick from Exile Viking. Diversity is the death of the white race, and lefties only like democracy if it benefits them, rather self-serving and hypocritical. Definitely. There was a point I was going to make about democracy that, well, you could even say this point would tie into the concept of individualism, that it's basically an excuse of, well, even in this paragraph, it talks about, it opens the door for based on being popularity rather than quality or merit. It always favor the clever liars and schemers, the cynical actors, and the sociopathic social climbers. So that's a problem when it comes to democracy. And even Joe in the chat says democracy is a myth. Indeed it is. You could even say when it comes to democracy as well as, say, individualism kind of ties into that. It's basically an excuse of promoting complete degeneracy. I mean, look at the society we're living in just now, like here in the West, whether it be here in Britain or even in America for that matter. You have a lot of people who are self-identifying as, all these LGBT stuff like bi or anything like that at all. You have people opening up OnlyFans accounts and not bother actually getting themselves an actual proper respectable job, but rather sign up to OnlyFans and actually getting themselves become like a performer, if you will, for like a bit of like change and whatnot. And it's so on and so on from there, and it's horrible. It really is absolutely utterly horrible, and it's all thanks to these ideas of democracy and of course individualism. Was like, well, I could pretty much do this because it's my right to do so, and it's like, fuck off. You realize you're basically just being used to promote a completely degenerate behavior and trying to just corrupt the rest of society. That's basically what you're being used for. You're being used as a useful idiot. Especially all these lassies who have become like OnlyFans performers, or I'm not saying like actually like performing, but you know what I mean. They sell their own nudes for a bit of like money when it comes to that. All this kind of the depraved stuff going on just now with that. So, but anyway, so here's where we get into the argument section when it comes to democracy. So again, picture yourself in a situation where you're actually having a debate with a leftist or SIFNAP for some cases. They'll bring up some arguments and it's not like, say, this is based off of maybe specific people that would say these things. These are kind of like the same arguments you would hear from any one of these types of like people. Real quick from Felix, and then I'll read out a couple more messages. We must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. Thank you very much, Felix. Candy Hinney, and the people who actually subscribe to that stuff too. You, exactly. And lastly, from Joe Marsh, me and Bill will be on here next Sunday's show. Well, there you go. I can't wait for that. Right, so I'll get to the arguments part. So here's the first argument any of these two types of people would say. So argument: without democracy, there is no way to remove tyrants. Now, that definitely does sound exactly what a leftist or that would definitely say when it comes to democracy. See if like one of us came out of the woodwork and say, democracy doesn't work, here's why. They would probably make that exact same argument, or maybe something along those lines, but maybe try and word it a bit differently. Here's where the rebuttal comes in. Now, in this case, there's two types of rebuttals, but before I get into that, I'll read out Streaky Bacon's message. If the confed narrative can be beat, there is hope for nationalism. A lot of normies have now been woken up to the media and government is not their friend. Exactly that. And I definitely do hope that it definitely continues on. The more people wake up to this bullshit, the more people will be on our side. Um, and we'll definitely see if we can make that happen at some point. Definitely. Oh, hello, James Hayworth. Thanks very much for watching the show. Appreciate you being here. Right then. So, of course, the two rebuttals. So, the first rebuttal here is democracy itself is a permanent tyranny of corrupt oligarchs and media bosses. Democracy is a system in which the amoral liars compete in popularity contests and get to escape all consequences for their disastrous decisions. And all for what? So that the few of us still in denial can bask in the illusion of control for a few minutes once every few years. Again, that's a very great rebuttal. That definitely agree. And then here's the second rebuttal to that. The second one here reads, a system, quote unquote, will never remove a tyrant. Only brave and honorable men can do that. Democracy is a system which allows clever liars get the edge over those brave and honorable men. And I think those clever liars, I think we know the exact group of people we may think of when it comes to those lot. I'd say the small hat types, if you were. So Budgie Burger, real quick. Without democracy, you wouldn't be a third world Babylonian shithole. And there you go. So it goes. Those are, by the way, those aren't that wasn't the only argument or the only rebuttals that was showcased for democracy. There's actually quite a few more here regarding to the subject matter of democracy. So, if I may continue, here's the second argument they would present to that. It reads, democracy may not be great, but it's the best system we found until now. Here's a rebuttal for that. The 20th century, the quote-unquote democratic century, end quote, has seen the bloodiest wars, the most devastating famines, and the appearance of the most atrocious weapons of mass destruction. It has also seen our European people go from being the undisputed masters of the world to being in danger of extinction. According to my values, that justifies calling democracy the worst system we found until now. But apparently, we judge things according to different criteria. Again, very great point regarding to that. And I'll read out a couple more messages here in the chat. From Kingdom of Vinland, I can't even read tonight. Sorry, once again. Constitutional, for God's sake, monarchy is probably the best system. There we go. Indigenous advocate, ancient Greece was never a democracy. And there we go. So, no, sorry, just real quick when it comes to my phone. That's fine. Yeah, no worries. Okay. Continue on from there. Right, so where was I? I think it was. Oh, yeah, here we go. So, again, there's actually quite a few arguments and rebuttals when it comes to democracy now that I have it here, which is actually pretty decent when it comes to that subject matter. So what I'll do is I'll just read out a few more arguments and a few more rebuttals, and then we'll move on to like a next subject matter within this book. Never saw any PA at Newcastle demo apart from me. All right. See. Let me see. I'll continue on from there. All right, then. Let's see from here. I also noticed 40 people watching the show, and now it's down to 38, which is still really good numbers. Please hit that like button. Also, as I said before, if you want to support me financially, you can easily do so by following me and sending donations through Ko-fi or even PayPal if you want to. But please don't feel obligated as if you have to. If you would like to, that would be great and awesome for you to do that. If you don't want to and still want to continue on watching my content, again, that's definitely awesome for you to do that. My point with that is the option is there for you guys to have with that. So, from John Wolf, real quick, universal suffrage is the problem. Voting should be a privilege, not a right. Kingdom of Vinland, my reservations with monarchy stem from the atrocities committed by absolute monarchies. There's a healthy disregard for the media these days. Yep, definitely, I agree with that. Quite a lot in this case, especially you could say maybe after I see either maybe 2016 or 2020, around about that time frame, I would say. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Anyway, let's continue on from there. Let me see. Here's a good point, right? So here's the argument that these lefty SIFNet types would say when it comes to democracy. So democracy is important because we're all equal. We all need to have equal say. Of course, I would say that. Here's a rebuttal for that of what we would normally say to that fact. People are equal. How so? Some people are strong, some are weak, some run fast, some don't even have legs. Some people are healthy, some are in a vegetative coma. Some have PhDs in elect- electric, electrical engineering and design power stations, while some are too stupid to learn to read and write. Some people are generous and kind, while others are serial killers and corrupt financial executives. People are only equal in a liberal's fantasy. Again, very valid point. Very valid point. Um, Let me see here. I'm staunch against monarchy. I'd never promote it. From Joe, real quick. There's a video of French people smashing their television outside Macron's gaff. Good to see. Get rid of the idiot box. It hypnotizes people. Yes, I agree. Definitely agree with that. It's nice to see that France is really rising up to all of this stuff going on. I think it even something I talked about on the show before, but it's really nice to see a lot of countries, especially in Europe, I would say, that are really are waking up to this, what people are calling a COVID like scandal that's going on. Well, not scandal, but you know what I mean. This whole tyranny that's going on just now, and it is nice to see that people are waking up to the BS that is, COVID-19. But anyway, let's have a look in this here real quick. Okay, so with the subject matter of democracy, I'll read out one last argument and then read out a couple more rebuttals. And then we'll see if you guys want. I can move on to like another subject matter with that. Again, I won't like read off. It's not like I'm going to be reading off the entirety of the book. It's just to give you an idea of what the book is really kind of about, especially when it comes to these subject matters. So, let me see here. Trying to see if I can find another good argument these people would make when it comes to democracy. I want to see if I can maybe find something when it comes to. Sorry, I'm just having a look here real quick. Oh, here's one. Right, this may be a good one. Let's have a look here. So the argument they would make would be is you want a totalitarian state, huh? That's scary. Two rebuttals to that. The first rebuttal reads, those who compromise when confronted with evil are weak and cowardly. There is no salvation in half measures. The second rebuttal for that would be, we don't need leaders who lack the spine to take real decisions and try to please everybody. I'd rather we make mistakes along the way, but at least try to move forward instead of slipping back into the slime because of our indecision. Again, really good stuff. There's tons and tons of subject matters as I listed earlier on. So we got stuff here. Well, so I've talked about democracy with that in this case. How about we go for another one? Just an example here. Let's go for the big guns. Let's go for race if you want to. So there's racial differences, diversity. There's Jews. There's white genocide, and lastly there is white pride. So those are the five here. So I'll ask you guys in the chat which of the five here you would want me to cover for this part of the video. Do you want me to cover racial differences? Do you want me to cover diversity? Do you want me to cover Jews? Do you want me to cover white genocide? Or lastly, do you want me to cover white pride? It's entirely up to yourselves. You can answer that in the chat just now if you guys want to. And then we shall see from there. I wonder what the result would be for that. That's going to be really interesting. We shall see here. We definitely shall see. And while I wait, I'll just read out a comment on all that's just a response to Indigenous Advocate by Kingdom of Vinland. That's fine. Let's see here. Streaky Bacon, we got Bulgarians in the chat. Indeed, we do, I believe. Race is everything. Differences, white pride. Be careful talking about you know who's. Yeah, of course. About you know who's. Yeah, of course. I'll don't worry, Joe. I'll be careful. I'll be careful with that. So, racial difference. Well, quite a mixture of answers. I'm getting this part here. Right. Okay. Let's see. Okay. I'll just wait for a couple more answers and then we'll see we can go on to that next part here real quick. I actually cannot believe we're about 45 minutes into the episode. That's pretty good, and hopefully everyone's enjoying so far. Cover the blankets. Let's see here. Moral relativism. Differences in particular when it comes to IQ and crime. Let's see. I think actually it might have something to do with that. Yeah, no, that's a good point with that. Cover the blankets, racial differences from Peter Walker, differences, of course, from Adam Miller. All right, screw it. Let's go into this part here, racial differences. That's on page 77. And also, just real quick, just as a point to make here, for chapter 4, race, which is, of course, on page 77, when it comes to the part of Jews, that's on page 88, which I just want to say just real quick, that's pretty based, but that's just thought I made that point real quick. Hi Tower 005, hello, thanks very much for watching the show, appreciate you being here. Right then, let's cover racial differences on page 77, and then we'll have a look at this real quick here. There we go. Right, chapter 4, racial differences. So again, just like with democracy, it gives it a bit of a description of what this part means when it comes to racial differences. So I'll go over that real quick and then get into the arguments / rebuttals. So, racial differences. Humanity is a species with different distinct races. Each race has its own mental and physical attributes, which it has acquired over its long historical development. Thus, race and racial differences are a biological reality, not a social construct. No amount of government programs or cultural engineering can change the basic nature of an individual person, which is largely determined by their biology. Thus, the failures and successes of any given group of people are related largely to this biological background rather than by historical accident, oppression, resources, and so on. So there you go. Does it cover the Barnett formula? Rob D, I'm not entirely too sure. I think it might, but again, don't quote me on that. I'm not entirely too sure with that. Streaky Bacon, real quick. History Debunked is superb at explaining racial differences in society, covering them up. I don't know if I might have actually seen a History Debunked video. I might have, but I can't quite remember. I'll definitely see if we can have a look at that further at some point. Right, okay, so covered that part when it comes to what racial differences means in the context of the book. Then what I'll do is now, as I mentioned, I'll get into the arguments / rebuttals. So let's have a look at the first argument these lefties or Sipnats would make. So race is only limited to skin color. The rebuttal for that would be that's just ignorant. Forensic scientists can determine a person's race with a strand of hair, a bone fragment, or even a single drop of blood. And anyone with 2 functioning brain cells can tell an albino black from a white. Skin color is completely irrelevant. Sorry, just real quick here. If I can have a look at that here just real quick. Alien Nationalist, thanks very much for watching the show. Kick back to the banksters. Have you not learned I'm not getting set up a tax-free charity? 8% of the staff in a company, 20% to the homeless and hungry. There we go. Right. Let's see here. Okay, that's fine. No worries. Right. Here's a second argument that they would make. So, the second argument they would make, or another argument in that case, would be I know plenty of blacks, Arabs, Jews, etc., who are smart, honest, nice people, etc. You can't generalize. The rebuttal for that would be you get better results by making decisions based on the general rule, not the exceptions. If you build a house in a flood zone, it won't help you that the site isn't always flooded. I'm concerned with results, not people's feelings. Very good point. Moving on from that. Here's an argument I know these types of people would definitely make. Here's an argument that they would most likely make. The argument is, why can't we all just get along? It's the same like lefty, hippy dippy shit you would hear from them all the time. Oh, why can't we all just get along? We're all one race, the human race. Let's just hold each other's hands and hands and sing kumbaya and all of that. So, yeah, so that is definitely I would imagine that the type of point they would make about that. So here's a rebuttal for that. The rebuttal is, yeah, why can't the lion just get along with the gazelle? Why can't the bulls be friends instead of competing for mates? Why can't the ants just share their territory with the other insects? I guess the world is a tough place to be for dreamers, huh? Once you get your head out of the clouds and come down to earth, we can discuss reality instead of feel good fantasies. Again, really good stuff. English rules real quick. They read or they write. He's not our guy, but he makes very concise videos that show the lies used by the left to promote diversity, multiculturalism, and equality. Again, that's a fair point to make. Fair enough. Indigenous advocate. Only the white race could have created the Trevi fountain in Rome. No other race is capable of it. Indeed. Just maybe for context sake, I'll just put that here. I'm sure people will know this anyway, but just in case for those who might not know what that reference is, I'll see if I can maybe find an image of this. I hope I pronounced that right as well. The Trevi fountain. Again, I hope I pronounced that right. If not, my apologies for that. So, Will Martin. Imagine all people living in harmony. Right. From Wally, another belter MIDI. Well, thanks very much, Wally. Appreciate you being here. Right. And this is in Rome, this fountain. Wow. Oh, I might have actually seen this before. Of course, not in person, but I've seen this images of this in the past. What I'll do real quick, folks, is I'll just share the image here for you guys to see as well. Like that. There we go. So here's the fountain. Who was it that mentioned in the chat? It was Indigenous Advocate. Yeah. So here's the image in question. So here's the fountain in question. It turns red once again. As you can see, a very just beautiful architect. Of course, you would never see anything like this nowadays, because mostly buildings nowadays are just built in a style of postmodernism, which means it's just all just like squares and blocks. Like it just looks incredibly just ugly and unappealing. Meanwhile, you come across something like this, and it screams of just utter beauty. Not just beauty, but it screams history to it. Like you can tell that there's like a lot of history with this building here, compared to maybe like a modern building nowadays, where you just look at and you just want to fucking hang yourself because you just can't believe what you're looking. But something like this, you appreciate buildings like these because I can't imagine the amount of like the time and the pains the people went through for detail are just fascinating. Because that fountain right there, that's not nothing. That's incredible, just extraordinary to look at. Can I maybe have a larger image of that just in case? Yeah, like something like that. Here we go. Oh, maybe a bit too large, but and again, this is meant to be, or not meant to be. This is in Rome, in Italy, and again, like just the amount of time of went into this is just incredible. And I know there's a lot of historical buildings in Scotland, especially in Edinburgh, that again just fill to the brim of history. And then, actually, perfect case example of this. I was with PA Scotland with this not quite a while ago, and we all talked about this as well, like the Scottish Parliament. Now, for those who've been to Edinburgh or have seen images of the Scottish Parliament, it's this fucking. Actually, hold on. I'll see if I can get an image of that up real quick. I really hope this doesn't. Oops, wrong bit. I really hope this doesn't muck up the connection or anything like that at all. Scottish Parliament. See if I can get it up here real quick. Right. Where's the best image of the outside of it? Maybe this one? Let's see here. Yeah, I won't zoom in on this as well, because I think this might be the best image of this. Like, to showcase just how fucking ugly this building really is. And why I would definitely say, like, postmodernism is just complete, utter cancer. If, of course, the image itself will load up. I'll even also take this off. Maybe see if I can get this up here. I mean, just, yeah, there we go. So it's uploaded now. I mean, look at that shit. Look at the state of this building. It's disgusting. You see other buildings around it, like maybe like old school buildings like this one here and that building there. If I could see like older buildings at the top here, I think even here. Now, I'm not entirely too sure if I think I remember I was walking through this part here one time, that this leads into another group of old buildings. But the whole point here is this is all this postmodern shit we see nowadays, and it just looks absolutely disgusting. Like, how can people look at this and think, yeah, this building that looks pretty decent? If they say that, then they're just lying to themselves. And opposite to this building, see if you were standing there and if you were facing that way, right? Like maybe towards your. I'm trying. Sorry. Okay, I got my cursor here. Right. See, for example, right. It is soulless, Rob D. Indeed, that's definitely true with that. See, for example, you were standing here, right, and you were facing that way, not looking at the building like to your left, but you were just facing, like, say, staring straight like that way, right? On your right hand side, there's another building that's a very like classical, a very old school type of building. I can't remember the name. I can't remember the name of that exact building, but it really goes to show like the polar opposites of the two buildings. So on your right hand side, you have this classical building that's again filled to the brim and full of complete history to it, and it's great. You know, especially in Edinburgh, where there's like the old town of Edinburgh, which again, it's filled with complete richness of history that's within the city. And then, of course, you stumble across this monstrosity, and you just think to yourself, how the fuck did we get from old school buildings that look great, even to this very day, to this like postmodernism bullshit? It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. Ah. Yeah, well, Martin, I did definitely do agree with that. It's very a Clockwork Orange, very much like that. In fact, see like this part here with like I don't know if you want to call it like the front gardens or something like that, or even around about this area here. There's a scene in the film of A Clockwork Orange where Alex, you know, played by Malcolm, what was his last name? Malcolm McDowell, I think is his last name. He's basically walking through the streets at night. I think I remember he was walking back home, but it's very much like this. It's like this whole postmodernism, like very. I don't know if you want to call it clinical, just but very soulless. Like there's no soul into it. It's just it's just awful to look at. It's very much lifted right out of that. Which is kind of funny to see because the film itself, I believe, came out in 1971. So again, that film predates this model here. So I wonder if whoever designed this building maybe took some inspirations from that film. But anyway, yeah, Will Martin again. Commie building it definitely is a commie building. Steamer Stark, thanks very much for watching the show. Gives Kafkaesque vibes as well. I'm not entirely too sure what that is, sorry, but actually, let me have a quick look at that. Let's see, Let's have a look at this real quick, and then we'll get back into the book itself, folks. 1 second. Then we'll see with that here. Right. I see. So who's this? Hold on. Right. The meaning of Kafkaesque, I hope I pronounced that right, is of relating to or suggest of Franz Kafka, of his writings, especially having a nightmarishly complex, bizarre, or illogical quality. I see. So it's like, so it's basically meant to be all bizarre and weird kind of a thing, like that sort of idea. I see. Right. Oh, sorry, excuse me. All right then. Anyway, I'll close that off. But yeah, I'm sure if you don't mind me asking you guys in the chat, and this may be like a no-brainer type of question, but what would you rather have, folks, in terms of like architecture, right? Would you rather have something like this fountain here in Rome, or would you rather have something like this? If you guys wouldn't mind answering that in the chat just now. Yes, rigor mortis. And also, thanks very much for watching the show. No nationalistic touch, and you can look at the building and not know what country it was from without prior knowledge. Exactly. Brutalism is the name. I see. Look up Thamesmead. It's there. I'll have a look at that just now. Let's see. Thamesmead. Right. Let's have a look at that just now. Oh yes, yeah. This is right out of A Clockwork Orange. Let's share the screen real quick. This is what Horace is talking about here. Thamesmead. I hope I pronounced that right. Yeah, like this type of stuff you're seeing. This is in London, and I think I think this might be the location where this was shot, where they shot a Clockwork Orange, if I'm not mistaken. But you can see it's awful. It's just again, there's no architectural quality to it. It's just soulless. Like, look at that. Wait, you look at buildings like that. And how can anyone actually look at this and think, "Yeah, I would rather live in a place like that"? No soul to it whatsoever. It's completely just awful. The town of tomorrow, 50 years of Thamesmead. Um, I mean, just look at that. Again, my apologies if I sound like I'm repeating here, folks, but it's true. No soul whatsoever. And this is supposed to be like the city of the future kind of thing, and this is just awful. Classical European architecture every time, definitely English rules. In fact, speaking of which, thanks very much for bringing that up. Let's have a look more of classical architecture. Oops. Or European architecture, just just to be specific. Let me see. Let's have a look at that. And in comparison, I mean, look at that. This is way better. I mean, the time of day, like the amount of detail that goes into these buildings, it's incredible. And then you have stuff like themes. I mean, is that going to be like a modern building? That all right? Well, that's interesting. This is in Vancouver modern condo building feature architectural Albrighton. All right, interesting. But you can see there's like a vast contrast between the two with that. So, question from Kingdom of Vinland. I'm reading through this on my phone. That's how I can be able to see the messages. Chief Moody, what do you think of Art Deco and 50s retrofuturism? Besides neoclassical and Dragestal, architectural. There's some of my favorites. Art Deco I actually do like quite a bit. If we can have a look at that real quick, and then I'll promise I'll go back onto the book as well. So um, let's have a look at that here real quick. Art Deco, you write in the chat. Art Deco, I kind of like Art Deco, to be quite honest. I think it's used like maybe stuff. I believe that we're back in the olden times, like maybe in the 20s or the 30s, maybe even the 40s, if I'm not mistaken. Um, yeah, we can see like that type of stuff like that. Like even something like this, I was very prominent, especially when it comes to Art Deco. So yeah, I do like Art Deco myself. And the other example you gave was 50s retrofuturism. Let's have a look at that real quick. I might have seen this before because even I've studied this when I was back at art, or when I studied art back in my college years. Retrofuturism. Let's have a look at that. Okay, so this is what the 50s envisioned what the future would be like. So, of course, nothing what you would see nowadays, but I think is really interesting to look back at this of, as I said, what people in the 50s would thought of what the future would look like. And yeah, I actually do like this quite a bit. Um, it kind of gives off like a bit like a Star Trekky type of vibe, or it's almost like this like I don't want to say like utopian, but almost like what was like at the time a very promising future for a lot of people. But of course, you could see films like, or even certain media like Blade Runner that brought in the idea of the bleak, hopeless, very beaten up vision of the future type of thing, where it's like a cyberpunk type of future. Whereas this was almost like a very almost like a very again, I don't really want to say utopian, but what people in the 50s thought the future would look like, especially in the year 2000 or anything like that at all. So, sorry, to answer your question, Kingdom of Vinland, I do like those types of art styles as well, so very much so. Um, English Rose Baroque architecture is absolutely stunning. I think this was something I did study in the past as well, back when I was in college. But again, just for the sake of that, let's have a look at that as well. Baroque architecture. And then I promise, folks, I'll go back onto the book. That's the whole point of the episode here. But yeah, stuff like this, Baroque architecture. I didn't. Oh yeah, I would imagine that would be a Baroque architecture with that. Something, say, like this, or even something like inside the building, like here, the Rococo. Let's have a look at that real quick. I mean, look at that. Look at that. Absolutely, just again, it's not only just filled to the brim of complete beauty, but it screams history. Like you could tell people who made this, like they put so much time and effort, and they'll put a lot of soul into it. And again, you compare that to what the stuff we're seeing today. There's no soul into what we're seeing today whatsoever. I think a lot of people, as we said in the chat, would definitely would appreciate this over postmodernism any day of the week. Yeah, but that's just really great stuff to see. Really great stuff. Anyway, I think we'll move on from that, and then we'll go back on to the book itself, because that was like a completely different subject matter with that. So, wow, 45 people watching the show. Really good stuff. Hopefully, I hope everyone has enjoyed tonight's episode, because I know I mostly covered the book itself of Hammer of the Patriot, and I think even after that, we kind of somewhat moved on to architecture as opposed to that. Actually, what was the reason I talked about architecture? I think it was something to do with someone mentioned it in the chat, or I don't know if it was mentioned in this very book. Oh, that's right, because I was talking about the subject matter of racial differences. And I can't remember who said it in the chat, but someone talked about the fountain we first viewed, the Trevi fountain that was in Rome, and how it was mainly us white people that would create something like that, and no other races would. That's where it came from when it comes to architecture. Yes, English Rose is very majestic. I agree with you with that. I pretty much agree with you on that. blacks and browns can operate at or maintain modern cities. I agree. I mean, just look at areas like in America, like Detroit, for instance. That's a prime example of that. Anyway, I'll just get back onto the subject matter here. Will Martin in the chat, can we look at some mud huts in Africa just now? You know what? Maybe just again, mud huts. Again, another piece of comparison with that. Let's look at that real quick. There we go. Yeah, so earlier on, we've just seen stuff like like beautiful architecture, like Baroque architecture or Art Deco, and all of that. Classical European architecture, and then you get to stuff like this. So whenever you hear like a black nationalist or someone from BLM talking about, yo man, us black people, you know, we were slaves in she, you know, we're the ones who actually built Europe in she. Well, it's like, okay, then how the fuck can you explain this? Like all these mud houses, like all of these great black people, these great black architects of Europe, and yet they're the same people who can only make mud houses. It really gets the noggin jogging there, huh? Doesn't it? Really gets the noggin jogging there. But anyway, I'll move on to that. Well, I'll go back onto the book and talk about racial differences that's mentioned in the book. Yes, indeed, indeed. We was Kangs and she. Rigor mortis, stunning. I can see why so many engineers and doctors come from Africa. That's yeah. All cultures are beautiful, aren't they? Just aren't they? Just. Rory Herbert, Chief Moody, a friend of mine built a flying car. He flew it. He flew it to Spain with Bear Grylls. Excellent. That's really good stuff. Mudhuts, good name for a band. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Budgie Burger. Right. Anyway, so back on to the book itself with Hammer of the Patriot, especially when it comes to the subject matter of racial differences, and also real quick from Joe Marsh, Leroy and the Mud Huts. I would say maybe something like Tyrone or Jamal and the Mud Huts. But anyway, so there we go. Anyway, right. So when it comes to racial differences, other arguments include. Here's an argument that I know a leftist or a sit-nat would definitely, well, especially a leftist would make. The argument here reads, blacks perform poorly because of historical slavery / oppression. They would definitely make an argument like that. Now, with that, there are two rebuttals. The first rebuttal with that would be is slavery has been practiced in every society in the history of mankind. It's not something that was done only by whites to blacks, enough of the guilt trip. Again, very valid rebuttal there. The second rebuttal for that would be is the blacks who come from Africa, whose ancestors were never enslaved by whites, perform just as poorly as the others, and often even worse so. I guess whites must have enslaved them telepathically then. Again, it's a very valid rebuttal. I really like that. There's other arguments I know exactly they would make. Other ones including, hold on, let me see here. Here's one. If it's not just lefties that would make this argument. I do know that some Sifnats have made this exact argument. As a matter of fact, anyone who remembers the time of the whole Crown and Tea stuff that was going on, so there was a lassie, and I'm pretty sure everyone would remember this lassie, but who goes by the username of Rage After Storm, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if it's Rage. No, it's Rage After Storm. I think it's Rage After Storm. She got in a bit of hot water when it came to the concept of race realism. So all of these fucking like centrist, Sipnat types were all, including Kraut and T, got out of the woodwork and trying to make of all these gay rebuttal type of videos like, oh no, race realism is all bullshit. We're all one race, the human race. Crow and T was like the prime example of this, and even going as far as making a doxing server against the alt-right and whatnot. And I remember there was like a bit of a debate between Crow and T and some other content creator who's a lot more who is more of a supporter of the concept of race realism. Who was the name of that content creator? Because I used to watch him quite a bit back at that time. I can't remember the name. Basically, they were talking about race realism and how the guy was saying how Crown T was utterly wrong on the matter. Crown T would make an argument similar to what's actually is typed into this book. The argument here is we're all the same. All of our differences are because of social conditioning, the environment, or nurture. And of course, a rebuttal to that would be, in fact, I think there's actually, hold on one sec, there's 1, 2, 3. So 3 rebuttals, and then there's an end with, and then resist saying. So I'll list off the 3 rebuttals, and then list off the end with. So the first rebuttal with that is you have it backwards. Our environment and our society are the result of our biological nature. When blacks immigrate to a white country, they still behave like blacks. Even 10 generations later, when whites go to Africa, they still behave like whites and create white societies. Your theory is totally divorced from reality. The second rebuttal with that would be is that's a nice theory, but it's not been tried about 1,000 times, and it fails every single time. Program after program to shower failures with money and attention, and their situation has only gotten worse. I'm not interested in theories when all of reality contradicts them. The third rebuttal would be is if we're all the same, then why did different people create completely different societies? If we're all the same, why do blacks always create chaotic and backward societies? And why do Asians always develop complex and well-organized societies? Because there's differences between the races, especially when it comes to the idea of IQ when it gets bring into the discussion. And there's an end with. The end with, so say if you were to bring up any one of these 3 rebuttals, you have to end it with this. The end with, this is just a convenient excuse to spend millions on minorities while neglecting the white majority, since they're already more successful. Again, which is a very valid point to make. Now, there is a resist sane part. Now, I would imagine why they would bring this up, because if you were to say this in any type of debate, especially when this subject matter is brought up in terms of racial differences, so resist saying studies of twins show that genetics account for much of our behavior, including intelligence and success. Because if you were to say that, I guarantee someone like a leftist or even a Sith that would bring up some kind of counter argument to that. So definitely, definitely resist saying that. We can't get on because they are taught to hate us from an early age. Exactly, Joe. Exactly. The bell curve does not lie. Exactly that. The bell curve does not lie. Indigenous advocate. The first university built in the African continent was built by whites. Well, there you go. There you go. Stamar Stark didn't exactly turn out to be Wakanda. No, it didn't. I mean, all the blacks would wish it would turn out to be Wakanda, but they only have that Black Panther movie to watch and just fantasize about that. So, but anyway. Your other comment reads: Look to Liberia as an example of an African nation that was founded by freed black slaves, which adopted a U.S.-style constitution. There you go. There you go with that. Enslaved in their mental plantation, which is in their heads. Exactly, Exile Viking. Exactly. Let me see. Patriotic Social. I don't think I've seen you before, but thanks very much for watching the show. Your comment reads, "Hi guys, keep up the good work." Well, thank you very much for that. Appreciate you being here. English Sailor. Good evening all. good evening to English Sailor. Just a quick visit. I have visited various countries in West Africa. The locale don't give a fuck about slavery, all stirred up by white. Excuse me, Liberia went well. I've been to Africa. Wakanda ain't it. White Western Marxists stir up this crap. Africans don't care. There you go. Exactly that. Blacks cannot run a model village, let alone a country. There you go. So, exactly that. Speaking of white Western Marxists who will stir all that shit up, which of course they definitely would do. They definitely would stir up anything like that. Here's another argument that they would most likely make. Another argument they would make is humans have 99% of their genes in common. Oh, no, sorry. Humans have 99% of their genes in common. So basically, it's this whole, well, we're pretty much similar genes because we're all human beings. We're one race, the human race. You know, the same fucking song and handy-dandy shit you would hear from these absolute spergs. Now, the rebuttal for that here would be is this. Rebuttal. Yeah, we also have 95% of our genes in common with a chimp. There's also a fraction of a percent of difference between the man and the woman. That doesn't make it gender a social construct, and it doesn't take a degree in molecular biology to figure out racial differences. If you'd leave your university office a little, you'd understand the concept just by interacting with all the people who are just the same as us. Again, very valid stuff with that. Hold on one second here. Patriotic social. Does the human race not exist? Honest question. Oh no. So my whole thing with that is I do believe the human race does exist. My whole point with that is all of these lefties and possibly Sipnas would also make as well. Is it would make so I'm not saying that the human race doesn't exist. Obviously, the human race does exist. It's just when it comes to race, when it comes to say the differences between whites, blacks, Asians, Arabs, etc., or Browns, if you want to say, etc., there you can see quite clearly there is clearly racial differences between the races. So I'm not saying like obviously human race it does exist. I'm just saying this whole idea of like there's no differences between the races, like as in we're all one race, the human race. I think that's a complete fallacy by these lefty types. That's the point I was trying to make with that. So sorry if I'm creating a bit of a confusion with that patriotic front or patriotic social. Hopefully I've cleared up that in this case. So anyway, Africa's history is just wars against different tribes. Yeah, indeed it was. Indeed it was. Please don't forget to hit the like button. Thanks very much, English Rose. Appreciate that comment. Definitely do so, folks. And also, just real quick, if I may as well, if you, I'll just mention this the last time during the show. Maybe I'll mention it towards the end of the show as well. If you would like to support me financially via PayPal or Ko-fi, you could easily do so by clicking on the links in the chat just now, as opposed to there just now, or even in the description down below. You can support me financially if you'd like to. If you, of course, please don't feel obligated like to do so because you watch my content on a regular basis. If you would like to support me financially via those links, then that would be very great of you to do that. If you don't want to send in donations or anything like that at all, then again, that's completely fine for you not to do so with that. The option is there for you to have if you really want to do that, of course. Let's continue on from there with that. It's a small percentage that make all the differences that we are different. Exactly, Amanda Lee, exactly. It's okay to preserve white nations. Indeed, it is. That it's okay to do so. From Noel, how you doing, Noel? Thanks very much for watching. Haiti as a social engineer experiment. Look how that turned out. Freed slaves, then local whites massacred, then the local mixed races killed off. And Ghana and Nigeria. Exactly. Freetown is named as such for a reason. There we go. I think I might have seen this, Stamar Stark. I don't know if it was Mr. Merker that showed this clip, but I know exactly what you're on about. But your comment reads, there was a great interview between a Chinese man and an African local where he blames the Africans for not taking advantage of the technology given by the Europeans to develop their countries. Yeah, I remember that very well. I think it was Mr. Macker that played that clip where he was talking about the whole crowd and tea situation. I think he played that clip in one of those parts. So yeah, that was a great. I do know exactly what you're on about, Steamar Stark, and it was a great interview with that nonetheless. Exile Viking, and they kept English as their official language alongside their tribal languages. Exactly. Which again, it really makes you think with that, doesn't it? Really makes you think. I use the term white, Northwestern European, tribe, indigenous. These terms are more easily understood. Yes, I agree. I agree. I mostly use like white or European, but yeah, Northwestern can be a good term to use with that. Definitely in this case. Roscoe, real quick. The human species exists made up of different races. Exactly. I think that was the point I was trying to make with that earlier. But yeah, exactly that. Thank you for summing that up, Roscoe. Appreciate that. Anyway, what time is it? 6:30. What I'll do is I'll see if I can maybe mention one last point about this very book, and then we'll move on from there. So, but I think actually no. I think I'll stop talking about or make a final point about the book Hammer of the Patriot. So, I definitely do recommend people checking out this book if you haven't done so already. I'm going to see if I can attempt to maybe finish off this book and maybe give it another read, because I think I definitely do agree with the idea that if you want to get better at debating, doesn't have to be, say, like online debating, or maybe it could be either type of debate. It could be uh, out, say, out with your folks at a protest or anything with that at all. If you get maybe into a conversation with someone and maybe have a debate there. Oh God, it's pronounced as Thamesmead, right? It's kind of like a similar situation with Barkley. I know Barkley was making a video, and he wanted some of the guys in a group chat saying Norwich, but I pronounce it as Norwich because it's got a W in it. But no, I know it's pronounced as Norwich now, and the W is maybe silent. So thank you for the clarification, Joe, when it comes to Thamesmead. So thank you, appreciate that. Edward Dutton's Making Sense of Race is worth a read. I don't think I have read that, but I'll see if I can give that a look at some point. But yes, sorry, back to this. Hammer of the Patriot by Charles Chappell. I definitely do recommend reading this book. This could be a very great book, very handy for those who might want to get better at defending their own positions. So, as I mentioned earlier on, this could be used for any type of situation. This could be used when it comes to maybe an online discussion or debate. This could be used if you're out in public, say at a protest or demonstration or rallies or anything like that at all. And if you get into a conversation, or maybe like a discussion with someone about any one of these subject matters I've discussed in this book just now, that this book could be very handy with that. Or even, I can even say, this could be very handy in terms of having a civilized discussion with either your friends or or maybe even your family members who are not on our side just yet. But if you want to get them on our side, and if they bring up any of these subject matters, say like race, other ones examples like use of violence or freedom or democracy, ethnic nationalism, religion and society, feminism, relativism, and so on and so forth. This book can be extremely handy on that. And I'm actually so happy I purchased this book during the PA Scotland conference. And I'm happy for guys like Meme Peem and everyone else from PA Scotland advising me to definitely give this a read, because I know a year ago I had my first ever public debate against Quick Sticks, and I did enjoy that debate, but I did thought, like, looking back on it, I could have maybe done a bit better at that debate in terms of presenting evidence and all of that, maybe worded things a little bit better with that. But anyway, but definitely in the future, if I ever were to be in another debate, whether it be with a leftist or maybe a Sifna, I definitely think this book will definitely come in handy, not just for myself, but everyone in the chat who's watching just now. I definitely do recommend checking out this book. And once again, what I will do, and I still want to thank Roy Herbert for doing this, please check out the book for yourselves. You can definitely download this for free of charge. I'll post a link with that in the chat just now, and then we'll see you there. And there we go, pdfcoffee.com. If you want to check out the book for yourself, then you could definitely have a look at this for yourself if you want to. And just real quick, there was a question by Noel. Well, not a question, but a statement from Noel. Chief, really look up Arno Brecker, I think, art. Right, let me have a look at that. Right, let's have a look at this just now. Even as well, I'll share the screen. Oh, it's still sharing, right? That's fine. Let me share the screen real quick. And I'll also close that as well. And here we go. Okay, images. Let's see here. Oh, I think I might have. I don't know if I might have seen these before, but I kind of recognize the structure in terms of like when it comes to that. Let me see here. Right, I see. Arno Brecker. Right, let's have a look at this. Right. All right. Oh, is this the guy who designed this sculpture? I've seen this before. Like I think other videos making like motivational videos, if I'm not mistaken, would showcase this particular I don't know if you want to yeah, like sculpture even says of that. Really good stuff. Also, I just received a donation from Julia Skinner, £2 donation. Thank you very much, Julia Skinner, or Julia. I really appreciate the donation. Thank you very much for that. Let me see here. But yeah, I do recommend. Not recommend. Sorry, I have definitely seen these before, and it's really good stuff with that. Really good stuff. Let me see here. Also made that as well. Did they make this? The sculptures of Arnold Brecker. I think we can have a look at the website here if I can. The site can't be reached. God fucking damn it. See, because of the connection. Jesus. Right. RenegadeTribune.com. It's not allowing me. Right. Okay, for some reason, I don't know why, but refuse to connect. What do you mean it refused to connect? What seems to be the problem? Checking the connection, checking the props and firewall with refuse. Check your right. Okay. Well, unfortunately, I can't really gain access to that website, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I think I've seen some of these sculptures before, especially the one I've seen at the start. Again, it's really good stuff. It's very, very good stuff to see. Excellent. Right then, I'll get back onto here real quick and see what's also been said in the chat. Download, cheers, you're welcome. Hopefully you enjoy reading the book for yourselves, and also English sailors, you're welcome as well with that. Let me see. I think another point to make here when it comes to this particular book, Hammer of the Patriot, I think it is important for people to read this, especially for people within our circles. Because again, if you ever get into a discussion about and people expect you to defend your ideas and all of that or your beliefs, then I definitely would agree this book would come in handy. And again, the book itself is called Hammer of the Patriot by Charles Chappell. As I've done earlier on just now, the link for a downloadable PDF file, which is completely free of charge, you could definitely check that out for yourselves if you want to. And I'll just read this comment from Joe, relating to or donating an imagined state or society where there is great suffering or injustice. Yes, I agree. Good stuff. Let's see here. Arno Tord captured Paris with the Austrian painter. Ah, excellent. Excellent stuff. Right, then there's more comments here with that as well. Night Conrad's off for a few pints in tune. Oh no, where's the Indigenous Advocate? Thank you very much for watching the stream. And also from Amanda Lee, sorry folks, got to shoot really enjoy the stream tonight. Thanks Chief and Chat 14. No worries, Amanda Lee. Thank you very much for watching the show. And you and Indigenous Advocate, take care for now. Question from Joe that popped up on my phone. When are they going to build Africa? I don't know, Joe. I really don't know. You think there'd be like an attempt to maybe build Africa for themselves, but apparently not. Apparently not for some reason. But anyway, excellent book, well worth a read. Yes, definitely. Well, yeah, I definitely agree with that. So yeah, hopefully people definitely check out the book at some point, and then see. Hopefully you guys will enjoy that. So, from Bill Affling, hello Bill, how you doing? Thank you very much for watching the show. So saw some Brecker when I was working in an archive in Munich. There was a room full of verboten art. Ah, I see. Excellent. Excellent with that. Evola Sunglasses. This has been my favorite stream of yours, Chief. It's been educational and interesting. Hope you will do more book reviews in the future. Well, thanks very much, Evola Sunglasses. And I hope you're not the only one who enjoyed tonight's stream. Hopefully everyone has enjoyed my discussion over this particular book. If that's something maybe you guys want me to do in the future with any future books, or maybe even I could talk about stuff like popular culture, like films or music or anything like that at all, then I could that could be open because like I said at the start of tonight's episode, I do think it was a little bit tedious of me going over some articles when it comes to that. And the only thing I think that would be beneficial for that for me would having maybe at time would bring a guest on, and maybe also give their perspective on that. But I thought for tonight maybe I could try and do something just a wee bit different, and hopefully everyone did enjoy tonight's episode with that. I think what we can do is I'll still continue on up until 7 o'clock, or maybe just before then. I'll pop the link for Mark's stream for people to go on to. And also a comment from I'll just see here. English Rose, too busy building Europe apparently. Yeah, exactly that. From Patriotic Social, they say the white man came out of Africa. Does that mean South Africa belongs to the white man? Oh, that's a good question, Patriotic Social. Very good question indeed. Kingdom of Vinland, I hope you do more book reviews. I enjoyed the stream. Thank you again for that. I'll definitely see if I can do that more in the near future with that. So, but I wonder what books I can maybe discuss in the near future with that. I really wonder. That's going to be really interesting with that in this case. I don't know, maybe stuff like books I can maybe books that are very popular within our circles, maybe books that are hold on a second. From Budgie Burger, tonight's stream has a different vibe. It's working, Chief. Well, there we go. Thanks very much for that. And I'll definitely see if I could continue on with that in the near future. So we definitely shall see with that. We shall see. Right, but I wonder what books, if I were to cover more books in the future, I wonder what ones I can talk about in the near future. So, as I said, maybe some books that could be very educational, very helpful with people on our side. Maybe some books that are the polar opposite of our worldview or on our side of politics. Maybe something like, I don't know, the Communist Manifesto, which for a long time I've always thought that could be used as, or perfectly could be used for like toilet paper, but I digress. So maybe something like that. Ugly Truth. To be fair, they made up for it with twerking. Well, there you go. Yeah, indeed they did with that. Indeed they did with that. Hold on 1 second here. There we go. I just had a quick drink of water because my throat was a little bit parched. Rory Herbert, you could always review an infamous book by an Austrian painter. Well, as much as that would sound like as much as I would kind of like that idea, Of course, you have to kind of remember the idea of optics. So I don't know if that might be a good idea to do on the stream, because I think I remember Mark got into a little bit of hot water when he mentioned. I think he was talking about, like, if he were to be on an island, or if there was a book like other nationalists should read, what books would that be? And of course he brought up that infamous book by that Austrian painter, and apparently he got a lot of flack for it, from what I remember. So again, not a bad idea, but I think obviously that's something to be very, very careful when it comes to that. But anyway, um, let me see here. Pepper Peter Piper Pickled just got here. Can you recap it? Yeah, no worries. So basically, tonight's episode consists of something completely different. To quote John Cleese from Monty Python, I was basically reviewing a book called Hammer of the Patriot, or not necessarily reviewing, but basically going over it. A book called Hammer of the Patriot by Charles Chappell. The whole point of the book I talked about was basically a way of people within our circles getting better at debating, whether that would be, say, online debating, or if you were out in public, at a local protest or demo or rally or anything like that at all. And you were talking to someone who was a lefty, or maybe sometimes possibly a SIFNAT. And if they were to bring up subject matters like, as I talked about, racial differences or democracy, so on and so forth, this book, Hammer of the Patriot, as I mentioned to everyone else in the chat, Pepper, would be very handy for our people within our circles. And also, as I said earlier on, this could be very handy if you were talking to some friends personally, or maybe even some family members, if you want to talk to them about nationalism. So hopefully that may. I hope that was a good recap for you, Pepper, with that. So hopefully not in this case. How about Schumacher is Small is Beautiful, or Dar's Blood and Soil? You know what, Bill? Let me see if I can write them down and then see if I can have a look into that as well in the near future. Because, I mean, there's actually been a few books that have been recommended to me by some guys from PA, especially in PA Scotland, I definitely should read. But I never really got round to it. Maybe it's because I've just been busy with other stuff. There's stuff I have to pay off, or, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm definitely open for suggestions for any more future books like to read. Because even then, I definitely think I definitely need to. I do believe I need to read a lot more, especially when it comes to some of the publications within our circles and all of that. So let me just see if I can write these suggestions down from yourself, Bill. So Small is Beautiful, and also Blood and Soil. Let me have a look at that. Right. Sorry if there's going to be a bit of a dead air, folks. I'm just going to write these real down. And then I think Kingdom of Vinland gave a suggestion. I'll just have a look at that real quick. And also English Sailor. I'll have a look at that real quick. Right. Schumacher's Small is Beautiful. And also Blood and Soil. That's fine. Right. What were the other suggestions? Is that about Greta Thunberg? I thought it was Ecomania Green Marxism. If not my previous suggestion, then Going Free by Jason, aka No White Girl. That's a good suggestion, Kingdom of Vinland. I know that Jason would showcase that book a lot, called Going Free. That's a good suggestion. That, hold on. Right. Let me see. I know. I still need to read another book, especially one by Mark, Fall of the Western Man. I know I still need to read that at some point. Let me see here. And I know when it comes to Fall of the Western Man, I know you can read that for free online, But when it comes to these particular books, folks, I'm also the type of guy who would rather. I mean, I'm fine with downloading and of course reading them for free, but I'm also the type of person who would rather also would own the physical copy of the book, just so that I can also read that for myself, kind of thing. Of course, in hand with that, but I don't know. But anyway, going free by Jason or. That's fine. What are the other suggestions? Oh, here's one from English Sailor. How about The Jews by Hilaire Belloc? I hope I pronounced that right. But again, thanks for that suggestion also. Right, 1 second. Oh, it's one L. Right, sorry, my bad. And it's also an I instead of an A. Right, okay. Cool. Why do Somalians look like they have teeth growing out of their foreheads? I have no idea. It's Patriot Social, no idea. Um, Squires Trail is fairly. I hope it's Squires, but anyway. But I'll definitely write that down as well, and I'll give that a look and see what that book is about. Cool. I appreciate the suggestions, guys. I really do, because again, as I said, I definitely need to read a lot more. So the more the suggestions, the better I'll see if I can have a look into these and see if I can give them a read, whether it be online or if they have a physical copy available. I'll see if I can also look for that as well. Alan Carr's How I Became Chatty Man is a good read. Dear. Chief, I was watching when Mark said his favorite book was by the Austrian painter, which was the worst, most damaging thing he could have said, as it paints PA as a Nazi party, not a nationalist party. Right. Yeah, yeah. I remember seeing that, but that was after. But I think I came into the national scene after that whole thing happened. So anyway, let's see here. Always good to see you in the chat. That's fine. Yep. I've just finished Revolution: How to Do It in a Modern Society by Kai Merles. Easy reading and 4-ish pages long. Oh, that's not too long. But I'll definitely see if I can write that down for future suggestions to read. Revolution and how. Let's see. Yeah. Perfect. So again, appreciate this suggestions, troops. Really do. As I said, I'll see if I can have a look into these and see if I can start reading these books in a modern society. And that's by, let's see, Kai Morrow's, right? Let's see. There we go. Yep, perfect. Excellent. A poodle is a dog, and so is a bulldog, but they are different. Yeah, no, again, it's a very valid point, Joe. Especially when it comes to part of the whole overall argument when it comes to differences between like the races and all that. Yeah, it's definitely a valid point. Uh, where is Mrs. Bear? That's a good one, James Smith. Good one. That. Where's Mrs. Bear? Right, perfect. Yeah, so again, I really appreciate that just now, troops. I'll see if I can have a look into them at some point. Good question, Peter. Teeth Moody with that from Budgie Burger. Right, cool. Excellent. That is coming up to 10 to 7, so 10 minutes until Mark's stream will be live. Let me see if I can find another suggestion by Mystic. Let me see here. All right, okay. Let me just quickly write that down. I'll see if I can look at that as well. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Let's see here. Just quickly write that down. And then I'll see if I can find the link for Mark's stream and then see if we can end tonight's episode. But I really hope everyone enjoyed tonight's episode. And if it's popular enough, I'll see if I can maybe do this more when it comes to books or other forms of pop culture medium or anything like that at all. What to do, guys, is let me know what you think of tonight's episode, whether it be in a chat or even a comment which you can post after the stream is uploaded onto my channel, or even you could tell me on Telegram if you want to via a direct message, or even replying to the post I made about this episode on my Telegram page if you want to. That way, it gives me an idea that if I should do this more often instead of just talking about articles that usually come out on a weekly basis, and then we'll see if we can do that as well. Because I think when it comes to Mood of the Nation, I think you can also say it can also be to do with culture. I think it was Mean Peen that said that to me when we were in person, we met up in person for an event for PA Scotland. I think it was him that said that to me. I think I can't remember if it was someone else, but. And also, just real quick from Rory Herper, a £2 donation for Super Chats. Great stream, thanks for all your efforts. Well, thank you very much for your generous donation, Rory Herper. Really appreciate that. And once again, also, I appreciate the link you've given myself for me to post in the chat as well regarding to the book, Hammer of the Patriot. Still do appreciate that. Thank you again. Right then, I'll see if I can find the link for Mark's stream. I don't know if it's only going to be streaming on his Odyssey channel, or if it's going to be both on his Odyssey channel and also on Laura's D Live. But let me see if I can find his page and see if I can post the links just now. Now, as I said earlier on, Mark's stream is about the video game industry. In fact, the name of the stream is called How Feminism Changed Video Games, which will be live at 7 p.m. or 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're interested in that, then I'll post the links in the chat just now, and just head on over there if you want to. Right. I'll post the first link here. That's from Mark's Odyssey channel if you want to watch that episode or that show on Odyssey. Here's the link for Laura's D Live if you want to watch it from there. If you want to listen to the audio version of the stream, of course, I'm sure it's going to be audio only. Then you can listen to it on Radio Albion, which the link for that will be right here just now. And lastly, with regards to Mark's stream, if you have any questions, paid or unpaid questions you would like to ask him, or even American Krogan, who will be featured in a stream tonight, then here's the link for Mark's Entropy stream as well, or Entropy link, I should say. Let me see. I'll just post that in the chat. It's there. There we go. Perfect. Just real quick from English Sailor, or English Rose, as a wonderful stream. Really enjoyed tonight. Thank you. Would look forward to more reviews. So thanks again, in English Rose. And as I said before, I appreciate you coming along on the stream. I'm very thankful for having dedicated followers and subscribers like yourself, English Rose, and also everyone else in the chat as well. I appreciate you guys coming along on a weekly basis. Whether you just continue on watching my content, sharing my content, or even recently sending in donations or anything like that at all through PayPal or Ko-fi, or even within the Super Chats, I still really do appreciate that, of you guys coming along and watching the Mood of the Nation on a weekly basis. Really do appreciate that. So how much was the book, and where you get it? Well, see, I purchased my copy at the PA Scotland conference. I purchased it for £10. Now, if you were to ask me if you're looking for like an actual physical copy, to be honest with you, Joe, I'm not entirely too sure. Even I had a look into that before the show started, and I really can't find it for the life of me. But what I did post it earlier on, Joe, in fact, I'll see if I can post it again just in case. There is a downloadable link. Well, there is a link for a downloadable version of the book if you want to read it online, which is completely free of charge. You don't need to pay for anything for that, Joe, if you really want to. Here's the link for that downloadable PDF file, and have at it if you want to, Joe, if you want to with that. So there you go, Joe. There's a link for that if you want it. So Excellent. So it looks like everyone enjoyed tonight's stream, which I'm really happy with. Hopefully, I'll do more of these in the near future. I'll still be covering like articles, of course, like from here and there, but we'll definitely see if I can do stuff more in the future, like maybe certain other topics with that. Kind of like something we briefly touched upon, architecture or stuff like that in the near future. So send us a link at Bill Athling tab. Let's see. Maybe it's available on Scribe D. Well, there we go. That's very valid point with that, Exile Viking. Thank you for pointing that out. Excellent. Right. I think I'll end the show with a song, or as I normally do on the show, something that was requested by Budgie Burger earlier at the start of the episode. And if I have written it down, but I need to see what page it was I've written it down. Damn it. Oh, sorry. Bear with me, folks. I'll see if I can find the song in question. Oh, here we go. Right. Okay, so, oh, damn, I missed the stream. Not to worry, Shinobi. You can catch the stream when it's uploaded onto my channel, and then you can watch it from there if you want to. Let's see. English Rose. Can one make an anonymous donation? I think it's anonymous for myself anyway, but yeah, like it, even when it comes to that, English Rose, again, please don't feel obligated if you have to donate. If you want to donate, that's great. If you don't want to donate, again, that's also great. You can donate anonymously, or if it doesn't give you the option, I won't read out your actual name or anything like that at all, or anything like that, especially if you're not like a public figure or anything like that at all. So not to worry about that, English Rose. Don't you worry about that. So right, the song in question, let me see here. Cringe Panda. Now this was let's see, hope, let's see, let's see. Right, okay, hope this is alright to play. I don't think I've heard of this before, but right, yeah, this is the one. Okay, so I'll play this song for the show. But anyway, troops, I hope you all have enjoyed tonight's episode. I'll be back. I'll be back on Thursday, which will be the what date would that be? That would be the 27th of January at 6 p.m. GMT, which I believe is 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please join me on that day if you guys want to. That would be much appreciated. And of course, I'll see you there. So again, thank you all very much for watching. This is Chief Moody signing out. You have been watching the Mood of the Nation podcast, and I will see you all in the next episode. Take care, stay safe, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you, and good night.